Hi, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Game Industry Insight, a look behind the scenes at game development. And be sure to subscribe and you can pitch future video topics. Alright, everybody, for today's Industry Insight, we're going to be talking about the recent announcement of the NES Classic Edition being discontinued. If you missed the news this past week, Nintendo announced that following an upcoming shipment this month, the NES Classic Edition will be discontinued, will not be available again. Here is, if I can fast get zoomed in there. So, for those of you who missed the original announcement, the NES Classic Edition is, well, pretty straightforward. This is literally a NES you can hold in your pocket or in your hand there, as that side art shows. It came with 30 classic NES games, many of which I believe have been on the Virtual Console in the past for the Wii and the Wii U. Has, again, the classic controller, very basic setup. It was essentially just like a very basic piece of hardware designed to emulate those classic games. And the idea was it has an HDMI cord or HDMI plug-in, hook into your TV, and you have 30 NES games you can play in high def. And it certainly became the hit holiday item of 2016, with obviously many places selling out. And I was actually waiting for that, the big holiday rush to die down before I would pick one up. And now with the news ending, it's not looking very good for me to own one. And there are, of course, plenty of people asking what the hell is going on with Nintendo, why aren't they continuing it? And I wanted to go over some of my thoughts on it, and maybe think about Nintendo's reasoning. So, if you're a longtime fan of Game Wisdom, you know that I'm a big fan of backwards compatibility and game preservation. It's why I love GOG, and again, these virtual console options on the Wii U or Nintendo Switch hopefully soon, PSN, and the like. And for a lot of people, the NES Classic Edition seemed like a sure thing, especially after the success of the holiday season. For a lot of older gamers, it really strikes that balance of accessibility. Again, it's just literally something you hold in your hand that plays NES games, and the nostalgic factor, which we talked about as being a major part of the Amiibo success. But the question remains, why is Nintendo deciding to pull it now? And there's been a lot of discussions and theories across the internet. I was reading some of the discussions that Polygon were talking about, and I think I agree with some of the things they were saying. So the first thing, from an announcement from a press release on an IGN, Nintendo talked about how they originally intended this not to be a long-running product, which has me to believe that it may have something to do with copyright. For anyone who's watched older episodes of the Critical Thoughts, or some of my older pieces on Game Wisdom, we've talked about the challenges of licensing older games, restoring them, stuff along those lines. GOG has certainly had some trouble with it in the past. Same goes for Farsight Studios and the Pinball Arcade. Basically, whenever you're dealing with a IP that you don't own, there is a lot of challenge when it comes to using it. And normally you're only given that license for a specific amount of time. It could be number of copies sold, a date, etc. And then any attempt to remanufacture or work on a product technically voids that copyright. This is a very similar issue to what happened with Grand Theft Auto, I think it was San Andreas. I think that was the one that ran into that issue with a lot of the licensed music being removed from the game following a Steam patch. And similar to Mickey's Castle of Illusion, which was taken off of Steam stores or digital stores because the license ran out. Now, when it comes to Nintendo, of course, they have a huge backlog of games. But again, if it's not from one of the core parts of Nintendo, again, your first or second party, they don't own the copyright to it. And from that list of the 30 classic games, there were some that they own, and then there were others that weren't. So it wouldn't surprise me that Nintendo didn't get, a lifetime license for it. When I spoke with Farsight Studios in the past about licensing popular pinball arcades such as the Addams Family, Doctor Who, and so on, they are given a limit of how long they hold that license for. And then once that's up, they only have two options. Either they let the license go, which means they lose all rights to working on it, or they have to renegotiate. And something tells me that's maybe the case with Nintendo and with some of these older games. Now, another part of this that I wanted to talk about, which I think is another major aspect, is what's happening with the Nintendo Switch. For those of you who weren't following, the Nintendo Switch was obviously launched about a month ago, and it did not have the majority of its online features built in. Specifically, in this case, the Virtual Console, which has been a part of Nintendo's strategy since the Wii. And with each platform, they have been running into issues with making it easy to hold these games because they don't have a shared account. Things get changed and absorbed and so on. So I'm hoping that with Nintendo Switch, this may be Nintendo's attempt at finally trying to consolidate things down, similar to what we see with Xbox Live and PSN. And with the Nintendo Switch, we still haven't gotten word yet on how their Virtual Console will operate. There's been rumors that we're going to see some GameCube games on there. I doubt we're going to see any like Wii games. And to talk more about the challenge of emulation, that, my friends, is another topic altogether. But when it comes to the Switch, I'm sure Nintendo is going to be banking heavily on the platform to continue its Virtual Console trend. And this could be another part of the NES Classic Edition, by the fact that they don't want to be basically releasing competing products. However, I don't think that holds too much weight, because again, we have a $60 portable console over here, or not even a console, just really like a little emulation platform, versus a $300 system over here. And as some people were talking about online, the market is definitely different between the two. And I think a lot of people, especially older gamers, really enjoyed, again, a very competent retro package, which I know there are several Sega Genesis versions or Sega Genesis emulators out there on the market now. And this also does raise another question. In another one of those press releases Nintendo put out, they said that it may continue again in the future. Now, of course, that could just be, corporate talk saying, we'll think about it, but probably not. But again, Nintendo is probably the only console maker right now with that rich enough library to do something along these lines. And there have been people playing or doing theory craft over the last week about what if they do a SNES emulator? Will they do a NES Classic Edition Volume 2? Again, one of the great things about Nintendo's back catalog and one of their strengths is that it is rich enough that they could do this. A lot of people were comparing them to Disney with the quote-unquote Disney Vault, that mythical place where they put movies for years and years to then re-release on DVD, then Blu-ray, and I'm sure we'll see something whenever the next media platform begins. But with Nintendo, it could be very possible. We may see more of these again. But I do think it is a mistake removing it from the market all right or full right, or whatever the expression is. Because again, this just seemed like the perfect item for people not only who are retro fans, but Nintendo enthusiasts as well. Again, with my, you don't see them back there, all those amiibo staring at me, even if I have no intention of ever hooking up to my TV, having a little NES that's this big just seems like a perfect thing for a Nintendo fan. And when we did the critical thought about amiibos, I talked about how one of the big allures for me was the fact that we never really got high quality Nintendo memorabilia. I can't talk anymore, but you know what I'm getting at. But the point remains is that by having these very high quality items, Nintendo is basically creating a market onto itself. And I think just removing it completely does eliminate a potential revenue stream, especially considering the kind of in-transition period that they're in right now with trying to build market share with the Nintendo Switch. But with that said, I am recording this on Easter Sunday, so I'm going to wrap things up for now because I'm sure most of you are relaxing and celebrating. So, thank you so much for watching today's Industry Insight. For those of you who have been tuning in, especially those of you who are retro fans or enthusiasts or supporters of backwards compatibility and game preservation, what do you think about the NES Classic Edition? Do you think we should see it come back? More importantly, were you a fan of it to begin with? Because again, it's only 30 games. And another part of this was the modding scene. There have been many reports of people cracking their NES Classic Editions open and adding a whole lot more games to it. And as we know, Nintendo really loves it when you modify their work. They completely love those unofficial mods and patches, don't they? And that could have been another factor, but again, I don't think it was a big enough area for them to take notice of. But again, with Nintendo, you never know. So for those of you watching, I guess as one final question, do you think we'll see more classic editions from Nintendo in the future? As another big point, do you think we'll ever see a PlayStation Classic Edition? Maybe at some point I get like micro Xboxes and PS1s I can hold in my hands. Maybe we do like a little juggling between all three of them. That could be an upcoming video at some point. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and as always, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like and subscribe, and check back daily for more great discussions on game design here, and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. So until next time, have a great night. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends, it always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GW for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GW for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon. And as a quick final part, just so I can get on record I could say it, memorabilia. There we go. Got it right this time. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.